Well, Allison, another American journalist was attacked while covering the growing unrest in the Middle East. ABC News correspondent Miguel Marquez was describing the crackdown on anti-government protesters in Bahrain when he got caught up in the crowd.
Now, police officers chasing me. No. Press, media, journalists.
Police used tear gas and clubs to clear protesters from the main square in Bahrain's capital. The demonstrators say that they'll return. And this comes as we learned earlier this week that a prominent CBS correspondent was beaten and sexually assaulted while covering protests in Egypt. And the attack on Lara Logan highlights the challenges to journalists covering certain stories. Our Sine Simpson has more on how Logan's ordeal has gained international attention.
After more than a decade in some of the most dangerous war zones in Africa, Asia, and Europe, Nadia Bilbassy made the difficult decision to stop doing the work she'd grown to love.
I thought it wasn't worth it for me in the end to put my children through the agony of not knowing even if I'm able to come back. And that was the reason, really, I quit being a field correspondent.
This album of photos tells it all. Living in tents, relying on militia for protection, and never really knowing what kind of dangers are around the corner.
You could have been dead, you could have been arrested, you could have been missing, you could have, anything could have happened to you.
CBS correspondent Lara Logan came face to face with those dangers last week, covering the aftermath of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak's resignation. She was beaten and sexually assaulted after being surrounded by a mob.
I think when you are in a mob situation, that's the most dangerous. When 200 people crowd turn against you, you don't speak the language, you don't know how to get out. It is hard, it's very challenging, it's often very dangerous, but yet you are motivated because you wanted to tell the story.
Bilbassy says throughout her career, she never felt that she was more of a target because she's a woman. And she also says she didn't feel pressured by the news organization she was working for to take risks. She says instead, she considered the assignments opportunities. In the Satellite Center, Sine Simpson, ABC 7 News.
You're watching News 4 at 5.
Violent crackdowns on anti-government protesters in both Libya and Bahrain this week.
Those protests have been inspired by the success of the pro-democracy movements in Egypt and Tunisia.
But activists trying to oust longtime Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi say more than a dozen protesters have already been killed by government forces.
And in Bahrain, police launched an overnight assault on anti-government protesters who were sleeping.